Yes. Go. Yes. Go. Woo! Yes. Press. Mush. Press. Mush.
Are you deadlifting?
I'm deadlifting.
Dude, me too.
Are you deadlifting?
I'm deadlifting.
I like your shirt.
I like your shirt. Did we plan this? Or did we not? Coincidence?
Maybe.
Or plan? The world may never know. 18-inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm known for my 18-inch.
Are you going up? Zinger.
That would be terrible.
The LA throwing heaters. Meanwhile, over here, I'm just getting started. You'll notice that I always put 10s on the inside of the axle because the axle's 25 pounds, and it brings me back to normal people bar math. I suck at math, so I put 10s on to make it like 45-pound bar, so I suck a little bit less at math. I got 95 cents, Elliot.
That's good. That's more than I have currently.
I got 95% on the schedule today. I'll know what's worse, having 95 cents or 95%. So let's start working up and see what happens. Alright, so worked up to 95%. Now, let me fill you in on something here. I'm not sure what my actual percentages is. Percentages.
You drunk?
I swear to drunk, I'm not God, Mr. Ulcifer. I'm not sure what my percentages are because the last time I did any sort of actual deadlift PR, it was well over a year ago, no straps. It's like 555. So I'm going off of comp weight because that's where I need to be for the reps. So 95% actually did not go too bad. It was 605. That's like 30 pounds, 20 pounds under comp weight. I'm happy with where that is in training. I'm happy with how that felt. I just finished my first wave within the program. So I'm actually dropping back down to 85% and I have a set of 4 there. Now, what I noticed with this axle is setting up and the bar rolling out in front of me because it is a thicker bar. So you try to get it closer because that extra bit of size on the diameter actually brings the bar out just a little bit, and that actually makes a difference. So I noticed that when I set up, I have to be careful not to shoot my knees too far forward because right before I pull, what does the bar do? It actually rolls a little bit out front, and I need to avoid that as much as possible so I don't give the weight any sort of leverage against my body. We're gonna focus on a couple things that I really do consciously to make sure that doesn't happen or to minimize that as much as I can. The first thing you're gonna see here is the way I push my chest out and I push my knees back. A lot of people, what happens is they bring the bar and it's super close, but they drive their knees forward to try and get lower when that is not what you wanna be doing. I'm gonna show you my working sets here, but afterwards I'm gonna show you exactly where and why and what I was doing to counter and fix and correct that bar path and any sort of bar movement right before I pull. So let's go, let's see how 85% goes.
No. Good. Let's go. Come on. Get power. Work, work. Good. Go. Come on. Nice. Go. Get the down way. Let's go, bro. Ah!
That was 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice set.
All right, so there's a few things that I'm gonna explain that I did there. The main thing that I focused on was not overshooting the bar. Now, what do I mean by overshooting the bar? I mean getting my shoulders past the center line of the bar and my knees past the center line of the bar. That is actually gonna put me out front of the axle and toe heavy. So what will actually happen is when the bar breaks off the ground, it will swing out front and then bring you even further forward. So how I counter that is by a few things. The first cue is pushing my chest out. The second cue is packing my lats, breaking the bar. And the second is kind of pushing my knees back till I feel tension and my hamstrings get loaded. So there's a sweet spot. Some people can deadlift from a really low position. Olu doesn't. Olu deadlifts from almost a squat position. He gets a lot lower, but everyone's proportions are different, and that is not my setup. I have to really be able to load my hamstrings and my upper back and lower back to really get the drive in I need to be, kind of like in an SSB position. That's why I love the SSB bar so much. So I try to find that sweet spot of somewhere in the middle with my butt, and then I push my knees back a little bit till I feel the tension, and I feel the bar is straight up against my shins, and I can see my toes. Basically, my knees kind of want to track over my toes, just like a squat. If they're pushing some people try to get low and push their knees past the bar, and like I said before, it displaces the bar too far back to when it breaks off the ground, swings up front, brings you on your toes, and then the bar's out in front, and you've lost your entire setup and your brace altogether. So the next two sets, I'm gonna break it down even further into how I do each of those cues. So next up on the board, 80% for 6, I believe. Program called for 5, but I told you 6, so I'd try to be a man of my word. But it actually didn't feel that bad, so I had no issue with going for the 6th rep at 80%. I've kind of been doing well, +1, +2 here and there with a lot of my percentages, so I'm very happy about that. But if you notice, at the beginning of this, I slowed down my setup and really exaggerated it as much as I can for you guys to show you exactly what I do to pull myself into that bar. Notice how I said pull myself into that bar. Now the axle does not have slack on it like a deadlift bar. So typically on a normal deadlift or not even a deadlift bar, but there's a little bit of slack even on a stiff bar. And by that motion of me pulling myself in by packing my lats and pulling my chest out pulls the slack out of the bar, so I have immediate input to power. Now this, I don't get it. So I try to get as tight as I can because sometimes I may have a tendency to jerk on the bar when I'm in kind of like full potato mode, and I try to nick that in the butt as much as I can. In my past, that has really been what was detrimental to me with the actual deadlift. So that main cue of driving my lats down my body, breaking the bar, think like a reverse shrug, breaking the bar in half. Or if you're double overhand, snap. So my lats go down my body, not back, but down. So I say back because you're bent over and that's the aft direction. And so there isn't a mix words or misunderstanding. Now I'm gonna show you, exaggerate a little more on the knees and what I'm doing with them to get my bar where it needs to be right before I pull. So I'm gonna shed a little more light on that on this next set, which is 75% for like 7, I think, 7+. I'm not gonna dig too deep, but I wanna get in the +1, +2 range. Give me a little something to grow on. Peace of mind, honestly.
Stretch past 30 seconds. 30 seconds to stretch. Like, you like to do it. Like, you know. Then you first. So when I start looking it down, 30 seconds.
How many?
8.
5?
5.
Yeah. You're training another long line. I've got
Come on.
ideas that I pay around mine. That was crazy. So the mental outreach I use.
That was 8. Third final set was like 480, something like that. 75% went good. I lost count. Like 2 of those pauses were actually me trying to just figure out where I was in my reps. Johnny and Elliot keep me straight. I had backup counter and backup counter. So it all worked out great. I got 8 reps, I got a +1, so I'm very happy with that. I really emphasize that knee positioning and putting my knees properly over the bar so it did not swing out in front of me. Sometimes if you're too far away from it, the bar can actually swing back into your knees and your shins. That's where you'll get a lot of those shin bruises that could, not saying it's a dead giveaway, but it could be an indicator your bar is too far away from your body on a setup, because I still have one on one of my deadlifts last week. I jerked on it, ripped it off the floor. It's a little bit out in front and it swung back, caught me right in the shin, and your shin's just bone, so it's gonna bruise. If you've walked into anything with your shin, you understand how it's like getting a paper cut. Like, it shouldn't hurt as much as it does. Maybe I just need to suck it up. But anyways, those are the main 3 things that I do to correct my bar path when it comes to deadlift. Especially on the axle deadlift, it's a little bit different because of the diameter of the bar. It's a little farther away from you. So to basically recap those cues is packing your lats, pushing your chest out, and pushing your knees back. The cues are pretty much the same on a deadlift. Obviously, you're bracing. I do that simultaneously when I'm packing my lats. So it's kind of 3 birds, 1 stone. It's basically like 1, 2 at the same time, then 3, and then I'm pulling on the bar. Those combination of those things should generally steer your shoulders over the center of that bar, your knees over your toes, and it should put you in the general correct position of where your pull needs to start. So take those and kind of figure out, videotape yourself, 100% videotape yourself, every set, every rep, set up after each rep. I mean, if you do like an EMOM at 50% and test some of these things out and really dial in where you need to be, where the pull feels the best, where it looks the best, where your brace looks complete and together, that is how you're gonna diagnose where your deadlift needs to go in positioning wise. Take those cues, take whatever you want from that, and apply it as needed to your own setup. I hope that helps you. That is all I got for you guys on this video. Until the next time, you guys know what the deal is. Get out there, get after it, and embrace the suck.